Good evening. A small community in British Columbia is tonight the center of unimaginable grief.
9 people, including the shooter, are dead after a school shooting yesterday afternoon. Today, many questions about how such a tragedy could have occurred. CTV's Andrew Johnson is live in Tumbler Ridge. Andrew, tonight we're getting a clearer picture of the lives lost as new details emerge about the victims, many of them kids.
Yeah, Nathan, this is a small town. Everyone here is connected, and we've spoken to people today who are just so devastated, trying to cope with such fresh grief after learning someone they know, or a classmate, or their best friend, or one of their children, didn't make it. And as the mayor said today, these aren't his residents, this is his family. This is one big family, and they've suffered an unspeakable loss. A heartbreaking symbol of a tight-knit community in mourning.
This is a deeply distressing incident.
Shortly after 1:20 local time Tuesday, an alert was sent out to residents warning an active shooter may be in the community. The RCMP say they rushed to Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, where at least 25 people were found injured. 6 others, a 39-year-old female educator, 3 female 12-year-old students, and 2 male students ages 12 and 13, were found dead inside the school of just 160 students.
Families are just mourning in their own way. Everybody has their own way of expressing remorse and grief, and we give them their comfort zone.
Police say the suspect, who was found at the school dead of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound, was 18-year-old Jesse Van Rootselaar, a resident of Tumbler Ridge. The suspect's 39-year-old mother, Jennifer Strang, and 11-year-old stepbrother, Emmett, were found dead at the suspect's home.
Well, we don't have an idea yet as to motive. And again, recognizing we're still less than 24 hours into this incident, it is something that we are certainly passionately pursuing. But it would be too early to speculate on motive.
They are still very early into that investigation. RCMP are very active outside the school, behind me and inside, where most of this tragedy unfolded. As this community now turns to such terrible tasks as planning celebrations of life and funerals for 11, 12, and 13-year-olds. We've spoken to a pastor who said support is coming from across the country, people offering their assistance in planning, financial support, as this hasn't just devastated people here in Little Tumbler Ridge, BC, but right across the country. Nathan?
All right. Thank you, Andrew. And as family and community members mourn the victims, the investigation is ramping up into the suspected shooter.
CTV's Kathy Lee is also in Tumbler Ridge as authorities try to determine a possible motive.
Police say 18-year-old Jesse Van Rootselaar had dropped out of school 4 years ago and was known to police.
I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male who approximately, the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female. Police had attended that residence on multiple occasions over the past several years, dealing with concerns of mental health.
Investigators are still working on 2 crime scenes, the school and the family home.
2 firearms, a long gun and a modified handgun, were recovered by responding officers. Determining the origin of these firearms and what role they played in the shootings remains a significant part of the active and ongoing investigation.
Without a known motive or a suspect to question, investigators will have to conduct interviews with family and friends to see if there were any signs or clues that Van Rootselaar was preparing to carry out something like this.
Quite often people say things and others think, oh, he doesn't really mean it. And then when this happens, they realize he did because they don't always come forward and report what friends say.
Any and all social media posts will likely be scanned, making sure no stone is left unturned.
It could be in school counseling, all different sorts of things that could give them that one little piece of information that says this could be why it happened.
And that report from CTV's Kathy Lee in Tumbler Ridge, BC. The grief from this tragedy being felt in cities and towns across the country.
Including here in Toronto, where the flag outside of City Hall was lowered earlier today. CTV's Rahim Ladani joins us live tonight with more on the local reaction to the mass shooting. Rahim.
Michelle and Nathan, good evening. From the Premier of Ontario to the Toronto Blue Jays and even the CN Tower, which will dim for 5 minutes at the top of every hour in honor of the victims. Everyone in this city has Tumbler Ridge in their hearts and prayers right now. And for many parents tonight, they are going to have very difficult conversations about what took place. Flags outside Vaughan City Hall and in several cities across the GTA have been lowered to half-mast, a solemn gesture of collective grief following tragedy in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia.
To the parents, the grandparents and siblings who woke up without someone they love, Toronto mourns with you. We want to wrap your entire community in love, not just today, but in all the days ahead.
As families try to understand why someone would open fire inside a local high school, parents are having to talk to their children about what happened.
It's about creating space to have the conversations, to answer their questions. And if you don't know the answer, to say, I'll get back to you when I have a little bit more information with that. Everyone is going to be impacted by this, and it's very important that we pay attention to the needs of children.
The elementary teachers of Toronto is sharing this message. Schools are places of belonging and safety. They are where children come to learn and where a community comes to grow. Violence has no place within their walls. Kids Help Phone has created resources for both youth and adults to cope with this tragedy. This includes professional phone counseling, interpretation services in over 100 languages.
People might be scared, feel helpless, there's grief, maybe they're angry. That's something that our team can really help with, is talking young people through what it is that they're feeling and how they can cope with that.
The entire country has been shaken by this mass shooting in a small community in northeastern BC. The Toronto Blue Jays have strong ties to the province as their High A affiliate team play in Vancouver. The organization releasing a statement reading in part, "We stand with you in support during this time of unbearable grief and mourning." That message echoed by Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, adding, "May you feel the love and support from Canadians coast to coast as we grieve together in the wake of this terrible tragedy." When I spoke with Kids Help Phone, they asked that I share their contact information on our newscast this evening. And so their phone number is 1-800-668-6868, or you can text the word CONNECT to 686868. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. Also, tonight, cyclists are forced to slow their roll, claiming a number of bike lanes are still not accessible weeks after that record-breaking snowstorm.
No snowstorms on tap this week, but as we take a live look outside, there are flurries on tap this evening and a bit of a wind chill, adding a bite to the milder temps we're being treated to. Lindsay Morrison has a look at the current situation. Lindsay.
Yeah, Nathan, we are looking at a pretty mild long weekend upcoming, but you're right. Today it was still milder than we've been, but not quite as comfortable as it was yesterday. We're at -2 degrees right now in Toronto, feeling more like -9. The winds have been much stronger today, so that's contributing to it feeling perhaps less comfortable, gusting upwards of 50 kilometers per hour right now, contributing to the flurries that we're seeing around the region. And I also just want to point out that there is a special weather statement just outside of the GTA in case you're doing some traveling, warning of local blowing snow and perhaps some freezing drizzle. Here's tonight at a glance, a little bit chilly as we make our way through the overnight and into tomorrow morning. But again, more mild weather is on the way. We'll take you through the 7-day forecast coming up. For now, Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. An investigation is underway after a vehicle ended up in Ashbridges Bay. Police were called to the Lakeshore and Leslie Street area at around 2 this afternoon for reports of unknown trouble. When police arrived, they found a vehicle submerged in the water. Police have not provided any further details about how the car ended up in the lake. They're still working on removing it from the water.
A firefighter was taken to hospital after battling a blaze at an Etobicoke auto body shop. Emergency crews called to a building on Tupper Avenue near Horner and Kipling just after midnight. They were able to get the heavy flames under control, but one firefighter was taken to hospital with minor injuries. Toronto Fire says no one was in the building when the flames broke out. They are still looking into the cause.
And crews battled a house fire early this morning in Brampton.
We had a single alarm respond to this call on arrival. Heavy fire and smoke showing from the garage. Crews commenced an aggressive attack. Currently, the fire is under control. and no injuries are reported.
Flames broke out at the home near McLaughlin Road and the 407 around 4:30 in the morning. Emergency crews evacuated the residents and neighboring homes. The cause of the fire is still under investigation.
Peel police are searching for a driver following a rollover in Mississauga. This happened around 7:45 near John Street in Huron, Ontario. Police say a vehicle flipped over and the driver ran from the scene. So far, there's been no word on any injuries. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward.
A man wanted in connection with a fatal shooting in Brampton 2 years ago has been taken into custody. 41-year-old Winardo Winteria Morris was the subject of a Canada-wide warrant. He was arrested on Monday and has been charged with first-degree murder in the death of 43-year-old Dane Gordon. Gordon died in hospital after being shot last May near Kennedy and Stafford Drive.
A new report indicates the number of vehicle thefts in Canada is declining. According to Equité Association, nearly 47,000 auto thefts were reported last year. That's an 18% decrease compared to last year and a 33% drop compared to 2023. However, the group says the financial impact of the crime remains high, with insurance claims reaching an estimated $900 million in 2025. Equité also says more than a third of vehicles reported stolen last year were never recovered.
There are ongoing concerns from cyclists about the cleanup of the city's bike lanes in the aftermath of several major snowfalls.
That work continues 2 weeks after record-setting snow as cyclists work to get around what remains. CTV's John Musselman reports.
They aren't perfect by any means, but the city has made progress in clearing bike lanes after that massive snowstorm 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but since this week, it's getting better.
This is the view along Bloor Street. You can actually see pavement. Still, there are spots like this that either remain blocked by snow or are difficult to navigate. Cycling advocates claim when the city declared a significant weather event, the bike lanes were no longer a priority.
We understand in the initial days, got to have sidewalks clear for people to get out of their houses. But after 4 days, after 5 days, after a week and a half, the bike lanes across the city are still blocked. Really disheartening, really unsafe.
They should have been having, a sufficient plan to have it done early, but it never happened.
The city is typically required to clear bike lanes within 24 hours whenever a minimum threshold of 8 centimeters of snow is reached. We received much more than that. A spokesperson for the city tells CTV News there is a process for snow removal after snow plowing has been completed. Quote, "It is an intense multi-step process that includes many crews, heavy machinery, working at a safe and effective pace along priority routes. This process starts off with hospitals before moving on to bridges, school zones, and then streetcar routes. We have been working to plow and remove snow from bike lanes while clearing and removing snow from the city's major roads and sidewalks. However, we realize there are areas of the city where bike lanes have yet to be cleared." Cycling advocates say they understand the city was dealing with a lot of snow. More than 264,000 tons has been removed from roads, sidewalks, and bike lanes. But cyclists claim bike lanes shouldn't be at the bottom of the priority list when the next snowstorm hits. John Musselman, CTV News.
Today is the deadline for both the Peel District School Board and York Catholic District School Board to submit plans to the Education Minister.
Peel is looking for an end to provincial supervision, while York is hoping to avoid it altogether. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris reports.
Supervision isn't necessary.
That's the case the York Catholic District School Board is trying to make to the Minister of Education. At the end of January, Paul Calandra warned he'd appoint a supervisor if the board didn't get its finances ironed out. They're sending back a roadmap with very minor adjustments.
But we already have a financial recovery plan that our CFO is confident will meet the government's timelines, including contingencies to mitigate risks.
The minister's also taken issue with infighting and what he calls a revolving door of leadership. 7 directors of education in 9 years.
But we currently have stable, experienced leadership in place with our interim director, Jennifer Sarna. She brings nearly 35 years of service to this board.
Rather than a budget overhaul, a promise of trustee training by the end of June.
Trustees' roles and responsibilities, financial oversight, strategic decision-making, and how to maintain a unified voice in supporting our students.
Supervisors have the reins at 6 Ontario school boards right now, and York Catholic isn't the only one at risk of being added to that list.
I felt blindsided. I was shocked.
The reaction from the chair of the Peel District School Board when it was placed under provisional supervision 2 weeks ago, a move the minister said was to prevent the layoff of 60 teachers. But David Green insists that was never going to happen, chalking it up to misinformation.
They were going to ask 47 of those seconded teachers to go back to the classroom.
The long-term occasional teachers who'd been in those classrooms would have returned to the supply pool.
Nobody was losing their job or anything like that.
Insisting the board is financially responsible. An extension of its supervision, not necessary. Minister Calandra has received those updated plans from the York Catholic and Peel boards. He'll spend the next few days reviewing them and deciding what's next. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The U.S. House of Representatives is voting tonight on a measure that would remove Donald Trump's legal justification for tariffs against Canada. Analysts expect several Republicans to vote against their party's leadership.
We are seeing growing opposition from within Donald Trump's own party about these tariffs, specifically as it relates to Canada, that many lawmakers simply believe that these tariffs on Canada are not only economically disastrous for Ottawa, but also for the United States.
Yesterday, 3 Republicans voted with 214 Democrats to deflect efforts to block the motion. If passed, it would revoke Trump's declaration of a national security emergency used to justify his tariffs on Canada. Trump would have the authority to veto the motion, even if it also passed in the Senate. But the U.S. Supreme Court is also considering the legality of his administration's actions on trade.
Also on Capitol Hill today, the U.S. Attorney General was in the hot seat, called to answer lawmakers' questions about the Jeffrey Epstein investigation.
CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin has that story.
Facing questions about her handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files, this was never going to be easy for the U.S. Attorney General.
I have spent my entire career fighting for victims, and I will continue to do so.
After releasing 3 million documents, critics accuse Bondi's Justice Department of doing a sloppy job, from exposing survivors' privacy, failing to redact nude photos of victims, to allegations of protecting rich and powerful men, and scrubbing President Donald Trump's name from documents.
Please raise your hands.
And to Epstein survivors in the room, one Democrat demanded this of Bondi.
Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through? And I will reclaim my time.
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady has reclaimed her time.
I'm not going to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
At times, the hearing was more like a shouting match.
I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
As Bondi defended her department and the president, the Republican who helped spearhead the files release, accusing the Trump administration of a cover-up.
Because this is bigger than Watergate. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And with no real answers, survivors say they are still fighting for justice.
The people who have harmed us, they are hidden, while survivors have been exposed. This is not protection. This is betrayal.
And knowing the president was likely watching, Bondi defended the administration, telling lawmakers that there are, quote, pending investigations related to the Epstein files.
Joy Malbin, CTV News, Washington.
U.S. authorities have released a man detained as a person of interest in the investigation into Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. The man was arrested in southern Arizona during a traffic stop as police searched for the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. But after several hours in custody, he was released without being charged. The man says he's a delivery driver who works in the area.
I try to clear my name. I didn't do anything. I hope they get the suspect. Because I'm not it.
The FBI is asking for the public's help in identifying the person seen in doorbell camera footage. Video released by investigators shows a masked and armed person at the 84-year-old's home the morning she disappeared.
Back here in the GTA, if your home was targeted in a recent string of break-and-enters in York region, police may have located your stolen belongings. Police were investigating a number of break-ins dating back to the fall in Vaughan, Markham, and Richmond Hill. 4 suspects were arrested in January, and police say they recovered a large number of items that still haven't been claimed. You can see the full collection of items on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca. Police say there will be a process to verify ownership before collection.
Toronto police hosted an event today to celebrate the upcoming Lunar New Year. A traditional lion dance was held at the service's headquarters. The performance meant to bring good luck, prosperity, and positive energy into the year ahead. Mayor Olivia Chow and other officials were in attendance to help usher in the Year of the Horse, which is said to represent action, freedom, and vitality.
Last year, as many of you know, community safety indicators, as I mentioned earlier, was significantly down this previous year. We are committed to doing everything that we can to ensure that these trends continue to move in the right direction, and we will do it with the energy of the horse.
The Year of the Horse arrives on February 17th.
Coming up, sad news from the world of entertainment. Actor James Van Der Beek has died at the age of 48, the father of 6, losing his battle with cancer.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, the situation in Cuba continues to worsen as Canadians try to return home. There are concerns the island nation could reach a breaking point due to an energy crisis. Travelers are being told they should get refunds for canceled trips. I'll have an update. That's just ahead.
Well, yesterday, perhaps you will recall that we made it to a high of 2.3 degrees, nice and comfortable. Seasonal norm is -1 this time of year, and we were a little closer to that today, flirting with freezing. But over the next couple of days here, we will become mild once again. In fact, there's one day next week where we could climb all the way to 5 degrees. I'll show you when, coming up here on CTV News. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Cuba continues to deal with a critical fuel shortage as Canadians try to make their way home before the situation gets worse.
Travel officials say no one should plan on going to the island nation for at least 2 to 3 months and potentially much longer. Here's Pat Foran with a Consumer Alert. Pat.
Michelle and Nathan, Canada is the #1 source of international tourism for Cuba, and the Cuban Tourist Board apologized for ruined vacations. There's a growing sense things are going to get worse before they get better, and that travel there will be off limits for some time.
Canada's major airlines have canceled flights to Cuba and have been sending empty planes to get Canadians back home. People vacationing there say the situation continues to deteriorate, even for staff working at resorts.
They're being asked to stay here for a week at a time because they don't have enough fuel to actually, for the buses to bring in workers.
TICO, the Travel Industry Council of Ontario, says travelers who have had their vacations canceled will be reimbursed. You'll have 3 options.
They either owe you a refund, a voucher, or if you want to travel to a different destination at a different time. But the key there, it's the consumer's choice. Not the tour operators.
Cuba is known as a value destination, so for anyone rebooking to another sunny spot for the upcoming March break, they should expect to pay more.
Cuba is one of the least expensive all-inclusive destinations, so people are looking at having to pay additional monies to travel.
Cuban tourism officials issued a statement saying the Cuba Tourist Board in Toronto offers its most sincere apologies to the thousands of passengers whose long-awaited vacations have been disrupted.
I think the winter season is a write-off at this point.
A travel industry expert says trip cancellation policies could help some consumers if Canada moves its travel advisory from level 2 to level 3. Currently, Canadians are advised to exercise a high degree of caution, but the government could say Canadians should avoid all non-essential travel to Cuba.
It's our government just protecting their people from going to a country right now that will have blackouts, lack of food, lack of medication,
While Canadians primarily go to Cuba during winter months, some do vacation there during the summer or book trips for the fall. But with so many uncertainties, Canadians may want to avoid Cuba until it deals with the many issues it's facing.
And the process of getting Canadians home from Cuba could take another week or more. Some people are having problems, but others say their trip has not been impacted and they plan to stay until their vacation is over. On your side, I'm Pat Ford.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
A new poll finds a quarter of Canadians say they have been victims of fraud or extortion. The survey conducted by Leger found the most common forms of fraud are credit card and bank fraud. 52% of respondents say they've been targeted by those kinds of scams. Other people's scams include phishing, fake websites, or phone and text scams.
All right, looking at the forecast, I keep on thinking there's got to be another deep freeze coming, but looking ahead, it seems like we're out of that deep freeze for a while, maybe forever.
Right? I don't know. When you say that, you jinx it. But certainly this weekend, it's a long weekend for a whole bunch of people, and it looks very comfortable. But we do have some flurries in the mix here and there, but I think we'll take it.
Yeah, and a little bit of light accumulating snow on Friday for places in Muskoka, perhaps eastern sections of Ontario. But here around the GTA, things are looking fairly quiet over the next few days. I think that's a good thing, especially if people have travel plans heading into the Family Day long weekend. And yes, we do have a little bit of a cool down tomorrow, but we're going to get even warmer after that. Here's a live look outside right now. Sunset time tonight was about 5:42 p.m., so it is long since set, but I continue to celebrate the fact that the days are getting longer. That goes along nicely with the days getting a little warmer, wouldn't you say? As far as what's happening across Canada, it is still very cold in the north. That's where you're going to find the Arctic air, of course. Warmer day today in places like Edmonton and Regina, where it is still 4 degrees. For us here in southern Ontario, all right, yes, a little chilly again today. -2 degrees is where we sit right now at Pearson Airport. -4 degrees in Wyerton, as well as in Ottawa. There is a bit of a wind chill factor for tonight. Through the overnight hours, it's going to feel like -11, -12. You will notice that waking up tomorrow morning as well. Otherwise, it's mainly cloudy with the chance of a few flurries. The opportunity for flurries is going to lessen as we make our way through this evening as the winds start to settle down. Tomorrow, it is still a bit of a northerly wind, so that keeps us cool, but the wind's not as strong. -2 is our forecast high for tomorrow. We're going to start off with some cloud cover and then hopefully get some clearing as the day goes on. Be nice to enjoy the sunshine. -3 degrees tomorrow for you in Welland as well as St. Thomas. Nice looking day tomorrow in Aurora at -2 degrees. Similar in Burlington. -5 tomorrow in Huntsville. Again, this part of the province might see a little bit of snow into the day on Friday. And you might be seeing a little bit of snow right now, blowing snow perhaps, if you're in these areas included under a special weather statement. Blowing snow and also the potential for some freezing drizzle as we continue through these evening hours. Here's what it looks like on the satellite and radar. We've had some scattered blustery flurries around the GTA. Not so much accumulating snow. We don't have to worry about that right now. But again, just be mindful as you venture out this evening that visibility could be reduced in some areas, especially if you're doing some driving across the province. But I will say it's looking pretty quiet weather-wise, condition-wise over the next couple of days here. There's the varying amounts of sun and cloud, more cloud than sun this week. That's the light snow that we're going to watch for Friday afternoon. Could just clip us here in the GTA, but it looks like for the most part this is going to be a miss. It's just the chance of a few flurries, and then into the weekend, mostly cloudy skies, but warmer temperatures too. So +1 on Friday, +1 on Saturday. Nice looking day for Valentine's Day. Weather shouldn't be an issue if you're hoping to perhaps take your Valentine out for dinner. And then Sunday, Monday, mainly cloudy skies, 2 and 3 degrees for the high. Check out Tuesday, daytime high 5 degrees. We might even get into a few rain showers by the middle part of next week. That's the weather for now. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, demanding for transparency after a report describing York Region Children's Aid's work environment as toxic was not released to staff. Stay with us. A rally was held outside the York Region Children's Aid Society in Newmarket today.
Demonstrators called for the release of a report looking into allegations of harassment. CTV's Allison Hurst has the details.
6 years later,
still no change.
Rallying together, workers with York Region Children's Aid Society like Christine Kaufman are fighting for change.
It's definitely safety risks for us as staff when it comes to burnout and challenges when we're feeling bullied and harassed in the workplace.
Kaufman is a youth support worker who says these working conditions make it very hard to do her job well.
I've definitely been encouraged by our management team to move into union positions where they feel they could put pressure and change things happening within our union.
In 2020, the province launched a review to investigate allegations of racism, bullying, and harassment involving senior management.
Workers crying at their desks, having fantasies about if I just got into a car accident on the way to a visit, I wouldn't have the workload burden. Everybody was feeling it, and the employer was doing nothing about it.
That's a shame.
Union members say despite that review, problems persist. Then in April of last year, the board commissioned the same organization to come back for another assessment.
With the promise that every single staff member that puts their vulnerability forward and participates in the report, these were like individual meetings, surveys, what have you, would get a full copy of the report.
Despite that promise, union membership say they have not seen it.
Since October, they acknowledged they had the complete report, and they've taken no action to support the staff, to make changes for the staff, and we're now in February.
Members brought letters inside signed by 75% of the membership.
So we've just handed over the signed letters from all of our local.
In a statement, the vice chair for York Region Children's Aid Society says in part, we are committed to creating an environment of equity and inclusion so that every individual can work and receive services with dignity and respect.
We're asking for leadership that will listen to the staff and support the staff and put the staff first.
The final workplace report will be shared with staff at a town hall next week. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
Artificial intelligence is making inroads in the medical field, and the Hospital for Sick Children is looking to take advantage of the technology. The hospital is kicking off a fundraiser aimed at raising $1 million for its new Precision Child Health project. The goal is to use AI to reduce wait times, speed up test results, and ease stress on patients, families, and frontline staff. Those behind the initiative say it would complement and not replace the work of human healthcare providers.
From an emergency department perspective, we really need increased capacity, not only in Ontario, but across the country. And so this is really about having an AI sidekick, if you will, work alongside our clinicians, help to add capacity so that we can start to accelerate care forward and tackle those bottlenecks that is just related to capacity issues that we have.
The Precision Child Health Project is part of a broader strategic plan rolling out at SickKids over the coming years, aimed at delivering individualized care to patients.
The entertainment world is mourning the loss of actor James Van Der Beek. The Dawson's Creek star has died at age 48 after a battle with colorectal cancer.
Joey, listen to me. If we are truly meant to be, then we will find our way back to each other. It's as simple as that.
Van Der Beek led a generation along an emotional roller coaster as Dawson Leary, the namesake star of the hit show. He also starred in the high school football classic Varsity Blues. Van Der Beek's wife, Kimberly, shared in a post today announcing the father of 6 lost his battle with cancer, adding he met his final days with courage, faith, and grace.
After the break, preparing to play ball, Blue Jays pitchers and catchers report to training camp as the boys of summer begin their quest to make it back to the World Series. Canadian company Shopify is the latest to report earnings. B&M Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has the story.
Shopify reported its highest quarterly revenue ever of $3.7 billion U.S. That's up 31% from the same quarter in 2024. Still, investors weren't too impressed because the Canadian company did miss on another metric. The stock was down over 6% by the end of the trading day. Shopify is an e-commerce company. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 73.68. West Texas Intermediate is up to 64.46. Western Canadian Select is down to 48.18. And the TSX didn't change much. It lost 2 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
One of the world's largest food producers is staying intact, at least for now. Kraft and Heinz were both already huge companies when they merged in 2015 to become a global packaged food giant. After years of seeing its market share chipped away by smaller competitors, the company decided in September to split. But since new CEO Steve Cahilan took over in January, he hit the brakes on the split. He says he thinks the challenges at Kraft and Heinz are fixable, and the company will instead invest in research and marketing to boost profits.
New home construction in the GTA is set to decline for the next 2 years, according to a recent report from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. This report says the slowdown is because of increased building costs, weaker demand, and more unsold homes. In Toronto, the decline is tied to a large inventory of condo units, which began construction during the pandemic when interest rates were particularly low. The CMHC says purpose-built rental construction will be the main driver of housing starts in the GTA. Well, it's been a busy day for Team Canada at the Milano Cortina Games, including the first Olympic medal for a pair of veteran ice dancers.
CTV's Scott Hurst is tracking the results.
A podium finish for Canadian ice dancers Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier, their first Olympic medal.
They've been working really hard. They're an amazing pair together. They've been together for about 15 years now.
The three-time Olympians were in third after the rhythm dance. They put down a score of 131.56 in the free dance for a combined total of 217.74, and that secured them the bronze medal. Reigning Olympic silver medalist in the men's speed skating 1,000-meter, Laurent Dubreuil, was one of three Canadians racing for a medal in the event at Milano Cortina. Dubreuil, however, failed to reach the podium this time around, finishing 8th overall. A thrilling finish in the women's freestyle moguls event. Saskatchewan's Maya Schwinghammer reaching the top 8 medal round, putting down a final run score of 77.61. She was just off the podium, however, 5th in her first Olympic Games. Another Olympic final is booked for Elizabeth Hosking in snowboard halfpipe. The Quebec athlete in her third Olympic Games was 8th in qualifying today. The 12-rider final takes place on Thursday. 4 Canadians were taking part in the men's Super G. Jack Crawford, the top athlete wearing the maple leaf, placing 16th in the alpine skiing event, about a second and a half behind the winner. Medals were on the line in biathlon. The top Canadian was 23-year-old Calgarian Pascal Parody, finishing in 24th place. 4-player curling is now underway. Team Brad Jacobs opening up their Milano Cortina experience with a win over Germany. Men's hockey is now officially underway. Canada's first game is tomorrow against Czechia. The women will wrap up their preliminary round in a game tomorrow as well against Finland. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
It was an emotional finish to the ice dance competition today for 2 skaters who train here in the GTA.
CTV Chun Li-thong was at the Scarborough Figure Skating Club this afternoon with members watching that bronze medal performance.
The nerves can be seen on the faces of Scarborough Figure Skating Club members, watching 2 of their own in the Olympic Games. 10-year-old Liliana Farag was hoping for the best.
My legs were shaking, and not because I was cold.
And then jubilation when it's all done and ice dancers Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier win bronze, their first Olympic medal.
I'm just like overjoyed. This has been a long time coming for them. They just deserve it so bad.
They were amazing. They were amazing. We couldn't be more proud.
The Scarborough Figure Skating Club is a place where the presence of Gillis and Poirier can be felt and seen. We caught up with them here last December.
This is our community and our people that we skate for as well.
The 2 made their Olympic intentions clear back then.
The goal is to be on the podium. The goal is to win.
Yeah, we're planning on getting a medal.
I used to drive Paul to the rink with my 2 daughters quite often.
Paul Poirier's former coach, 80-year-old Mary Matthews, and her daughter Coral watched at home with pride.
Paul and Piper, they stand for what it really truly means to be Canadian. They're bold, they're creative, they're inclusive.
Well, it's going to be a great inspiration for our club. For all the skaters there, they are now going to have a dream that someday that could happen to them.
And inspire it already has. What does it make you think you could do?
Go to the Olympics one day.
You think you will? As a pair skating for this community, this country is bringing a medal home. Chun Li-thong, CTV News.
Spring training is officially underway for the Blue Jays as pitchers and catchers reported to camp in Dunedin today. The team posted this video to its X account showing its spring training complex being prepared for the upcoming season. The Jays are looking to return to the World Series this year after falling just short of winning their first championship since 1993 last season. The team spent the offseason bringing in starting pitcher Dylan Cease and Japanese star Kazuma Okamoto. Meanwhile, manager John Schneider spoke about the injuries the team is already dealing with.
You have Cease, you got Gauze, you got Ponce, you got Trey. Lauer, obviously, we're going to stretch out as a starter. Jose, obviously, we're going to stretch out as a starter. He's had a pretty productive offseason. Watched him throw today and was very encouraged. And then hopefully Shane isn't that far behind. I think that's where we're kind of in a unique spot to where some of our depth is actually on our 26-man roster. So we're going to try to do the best we can to build those guys for sure.
Looking forward to it. Just ahead, out of the gallery and into one of Toronto's busiest hubs, artists showcase their work all over Union Station in celebration of Black History Month. We'll take a peek after the break.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
As the debate continues about mining for rare minerals and the role of multinational corporations, a new play digs into the subject.
As CTV's Andrea Case reports, Copperbelt is a timely exploration now on stage at the Young Centre for the Performing Arts in the Distillery.
The excitement of opening night could be seen on the faces of the cast and director of Copperbelt at the Young Centre for the Performing Arts. The play is the debut work written by Natasha Mumba, who stars as Eden, a junior mining executive in Toronto.
It's an incredible privilege, but as an actor, it's so unique and so special. I love running this show and doing this show, and I love the cast, so it's really fun to get to do that.
Her character had left behind her wealthy family in Zambia, Africa, to build a life for herself. When her father falls ill, she's forced to return to deal with the problems she left behind. Mumba, an accomplished actor, but first-time playwright, did not want to star in her own show. Director Nina Lee Aquino usually doesn't encourage playwrights to act in their plays, but she made an exception.
Yes, because she's a phenomenal actor, and I would be an idiot not to at least try.
But when they took the play to Zambia for a workshop, she changed her mind.
I didn't account for all of my lived history as a Zambian and my lived history as a Bemba woman, and it all sort of just sparked up, and I was like, oh, actually it is of service, I think, to be in this show.
The Copperbelt is a vital region in northern Zambia, known for its rich copper mining history, economic significance, and cultural heritage.
And I know, the entire Western world is panicking, trying to keep a hold of as many critical minerals as they can before China completely takes over Africa. But we have to be strategic.
Aquino taught Mumba at the National Theatre School and today is the director of English work at the National Arts Centre in Ottawa. Early in her acting career, she realized roles for someone who looked like her would be limited.
So I kind of made a vow to myself that if and when I get into this position of power, that I would make it my life's mission to never have another student, of theater face that ever again.
Promise made, promise kept. The Soul Pepper co-production of Copperbelt is on stage now until March 1st. Andrea Case, CTV News.
In honor of Black History Month, a new multi-site public art exhibit is opening at Union Station tomorrow.
CTV's Jessica Smith takes us on a tour.
Black art is transforming Toronto's Union Station.
What's really cool about the work is that it's spread all around the station. So no matter where you are, you can kind of encounter a little piece of the exhibit wherever you're at.
A Kind of Order is a multi-site public art initiative recognizing Black History Month. Spread across Canada's busiest transit hub, it's designed to spark a curiosity and conversation.
I was really interested in the phenomenon of public assembly
an assemblage. And so for the 4 artists that I chose, what you'll see is that all of them, in their own way, are working with collage.
The mixed media exhibition features 4 Black artists and is made to be viewed on the move by the more than 300,000 people who pass through each day.
Thinking about Union as a space that gathers people, that sends us on our way, that allows and holds arrivals and beginnings of chapters, ends of chapters, but also marks people's daily rhythms.
For Timothy Yannick Hunter, one of the featured artists, it's about connecting the idea of migration with culture and history.
Really, it's a metaphor, or like a kind of thinking through migration and the movement of people, Black migration, Caribbean migration, more specifically.
Welcoming in the idea that there's more that connects than divides.
A kind of order is free to attend as you pass through the halls of Union Station and will be in place through to August 31st. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
Great story.
I know, and if you step out of Union Station tonight into the evening air, relatively tame, although there is some wind.
Yeah, you know, I think anybody commuting around the GTA is probably in good shape tonight, but do want to mention one more time that there is a special weather statement for areas north and west of here, warning of some local blowing snow and perhaps some freezing drizzle. So here's what that looks like. On the satellite and radar, we do still see a few flurries out and about. These are going to taper off. Everything's going to settle down with the winds tapering off too into this evening. Waking up tomorrow morning, another chilly start, another mostly cloudy day, but we do get some clearing as the day goes on. Hopefully enjoying some sunshine in the afternoon. -2 is our forecast daytime high, but we are back above freezing most days after that. In fact, the long weekend, Family Day long weekend, is looking decently mild. Michelle and Nathan.
Bring it on. Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Tajudina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Allman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.